We're talking about the industry as a whole, how so many different backgrounds end up in the industry. Like, how do you all end up here? Like, your dad's in the industry. I don't know how the hell you ended up here. I don't know how you ended up here. I'm a freaking tech guy that ended up in this place, right? Like, I sold technology for years and years. And I just think it's interesting. You look around this room and all the people that are here, everybody has ended up here from a different destination, a different background, a different, story. Maybe they knew somebody, maybe they were down and out, they ended up in construction. But then, generally speaking, people get into this industry and they don't get out.
It's in your blood.
It ends up in your blood. And so, for me, what I've said a million times today is like, when I came here, like, it just felt like home. Like, I started talking to people that I really felt like were a lot like me. And when I was in the corporate world, it didn't feel like that. It felt like everybody was there to, punch a time clock, and they weren't as real and authentic and, like, just kind of down to earth, normal people. Like, and so my dad was a steel worker, so I grew up around a lot of blue collar people. And when I ended up here, it just from day one, it always felt like home. And so the question is, like, what is it about construction that's like unique and special to you? Like, what makes it feel, special to you to do this every day? And what's the part of doing the job that you're happiest about? You go first.
I think what got me into it, I haven't been in this sort of a field before. Sales is sales and marketing is marketing. Business is business, and been around there. But specifically, kind of what we're doing, striping and the asphalt stuff. I was approached a year and a half ago, and I just said, no, I'm not that interested. But I met the guys working at the company I'm at right now, and that's what brought me in. It was the culture. It wasn't the position, and it wasn't the product.
Those boys are infectious up there.
It was the people. Well, just, you kind of get those phrases, like, oh, bless their heart. Those kind of things.
They say that in Canada?
We do. We say that every
I
now and
learned
then.
something new today, dude.
You gotta kind of get in with the rednecks or in Southern
I
Ontario.
got you. I haven't been to that part of Canada.
We've got, but just it was the people that got me. And as far as kind of sticking around, one of the things that I love about it is that we've talked about it a bit today in some of the other sessions. When you do the job right, it's something that lasts. It matters. What you're doing matters. You're building a legacy of people and a product, and you can drive down the road and you can tell your kids, hey, remember I was doing that, and hey, we were on site there, and hey, I talked to Travis over there at the plant and we got that done. So, giving those solutions, but they're long-term lasting things that you can take pride in, and that's it for me right there. It's got to be more than just a paycheck.
I'm just like fixated on trying to find the redneck Canadian accent. Yeah. Trying to figure that out.
Hey, let's go watch some NASCAR. Don't you know?
No, hold on. I don't want to take away from them, but I do have folks down in Missouri, and also every now and then the drawl comes out and it kind of stretches out just a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Oh dang, he did it right there.
Oh yeah, he got her.
comes
He
out.
got her. Mama tried, huh? How about you, dude? What do you think? What keeps you? Because you are one of the more passionate, like diligent people. Like, the work isn't always easy, right? It's tough. You go through seasons where you feel like every day you're getting punched in the mouth, and then you go through seasons where it feels like every day you get the green lights, Yeah. And so what is it that's unique? Like, what has kept you going? You've been in business for a long time.
Yeah. I started in construction when I was 11, 12, just being a carpenter's helper. And my mom and dad were both in the restaurant business. So, but I started to make money because I wanted to provide for myself. I wanted to buy the things, the video games, the shoes, the stuff. But now, then I started a business when I was 20 years old. I'm now 40, so I've been doing it for 20 years. And what keeps me in it now is providing not only for my family, but everybody that my business touches that I provide for. That keeps me going every single day. Because if this train stops, there's a lot of people that are going to be impacted for quite some time. So on up days, on down days, I look at how what I do impacts everybody around me. So
Yeah, the old quote is, "Who loses if you don't win?"
Yeah.
It's a good driver. And it's interesting because I think you go through different levels of that. It's like, you do start out like trying to figure out, I remember this, like I remember the first couple people, in the company were just owners, and and you're like, how do we pay our own bills? And then it's like, well, what job did we sell that we can hire the next person?
Yep.
And then, it's like, so for me, I was like obsessed over like never hiring anyone that we would have to let go because we didn't have the performance or revenue or profit to pay for it. And, but it's always, when you think about that, all those things lead back to what? It's just people. It's like, how do we get the right people on the team to get to the destination we're trying to get to? And like, the guys that you work with are a great example. Like, I remember when that company was just itty bitty, right? And you could watch it start to take off, start to have its own personality. And then they keep attracting, the same type of personality into it. It just multiplies, over and over and over again. And eventually you're providing for a whole lot of people. And then when you stop and think about it, you're like, oh shit, man, this is like, a lot of people lose if I don't keep this thing going, right? So, Nate, you're not a second generation in your business. You started your own, but your old man is a good example of what it looks like to win in construction. Did that give you the inspiration to get it moving, or what's the thing that keeps you ticking?
Yeah, man. I mean, as far as just entrepreneurship in general, there wasn't really any question about it. My grandpa was an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you weren't
His
going to
dad
get a
is
job.
that. It was
You're
like,
virtually unemployable.
yeah. No, that was it,
For a lot of reasons.
I mean-
Those are a lot of reasons.
I mean, there's not a CEO position available here at TPG, so I wouldn't be able to make
I
any
can open
switches
one up
yet.
for you. Yeah. I'd enjoy that interview.
Oh man, no man. To me, it wasn't a question. I dropped out of high school and started my business when I was 16. And as far as construction, I kind of just fell into that because my dad did that, and yeah. And I could have easily went and worked for him because his company does anywhere from, 8 to 10 million a year, and done well for myself. But which I'm doing well for myself now. But it took 10 years of getting kicked in the balls to get there, and I'm still getting kicked in the balls, and I'm nowhere near where I want to go, But by the end of this year, we'll be doing more revenue than my dad's company. So
It's awesome, dude. I remember, how many years ago has it been since you came here?
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, like, what's the revenue multiply? Like 5 times at least?
Yeah.
4 or 5 times?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's incredible. When you watch that journey, and I joke about it, I always tell people I'm unemployable. Like, dude, I don't think I could live by somebody's rules at this point, like, well, I joke about that in front of people that work with us. And I'm like, well, we don't operate the same as most companies. It's a whole different set of, circumstances here. And so, it's like, how do you build that so that people don't feel, constrained, or that, good people can show up and contribute and not feel like, if I'm not at my desk by 8 o'clock on the button 5 days a week, somebody's like, hey, it was 8:02 when you came in today, right? So that leads me to the next question is, from a leadership perspective, what's the most difficult part of leadership for you?
Whew. I don't know, man. A lot of it is instilling, giving the people the guidelines. Like when you said that 802 thing, I'm that guy right now where I'm like, hey.
So I got you on that one?
You did, yeah. And I was wondering, am I doing something wrong there, or is there a better way to do that? Or maybe if I have to manage that person that tightly, they probably shouldn't be working for me.
Can I get an amen?
So,
Amen.
yeah, I mean,
If I call them 8:59ers and 4:59ers, meaning they show up 1 minute early and they're ready to leave it 1 minute before. If
Yeah,
that's the person over and over and over again,
well, that's what's
they're not
tough.
bought in, they're not ready to work, they don't really care. They don't, if you got to tell somebody you need to work more when the job is staring you in the face and needs to be done, they say don't try to teach a pig to sing because you won't be successful and you frustrate the pig.
Yeah, right. But the hard part is there's so much nuance with leadership too, though. So it's, I don't know, it's a constant evolution and change and learning, and I don't know. There's always challenges, struggles with it.
Leadership
most
challenge.
Difficult part of leadership. What's the most?
For me, it's consistency. It's, I've learned that the hard way numerous times. When I lose somebody, it's because I was inconsistent in leadership almost every time. It's that, not outlining the standards ahead of time. Then all of a sudden, when something gets off track, then just jumping on it. I'm a dog with a bone when I see someone's underperforming. They don't. But then I always think, man, if I had started that sooner, if I had communicated the standards and had those procedures with them ahead of time and checked in with them and followed up, then we wouldn't have gotten where we were. But when because nobody likes that. If they're a cockroach, they don't like the light on them, and they start scattering, and you lose them. So yeah, I've learned that time and time again.
Yeah, I think it's also, man, just to your
Refer to my employees as cockroaches. That's
Right,
not,
I was
delete
like-
that part.
Perspective is, and part of leadership is anticipation. It's like what is going to happen before it happens, and it's digging into what somebody else wants and why that's a benefit. Why it's a benefit to be in this vehicle to get it, right? And that's, the sooner we start that, the more we sell the vision, the easier it gets.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about consistency and kind of going along with that. It's expectation management on mine, like making sure they know it's exactly what's expected of me. I know what's expected of me. They know what's expected of them. We kind of get along with that. And so, in the hiring process, I laugh and I joke with them and I say, look, I'm only going to ask you a couple questions. And I was like, so I start off and I said, one line or less, what's this job all about? And we just spent 15 minutes, 20 minutes telling them what the job's all about. They have to encapsulate that. Okay, that's great. And I said, where do you see yourself in 1, 3, 5 years? In your own words, 2 sentences or less. Go ahead. I like group interviews, so I'll do that. Oh, awesome, that's great. And last question of the night, I was like, great. So how's working here giving me what I want, going to get you there having what you want? Go. And I've had people cry, get up and walk out right then. And
Good job.
it was awesome. Well, that lady in particular that stands, she came later and she said, I just realized this was the 5th job I was going to have as an assistant, and it was never going to get me what I wanted, and I felt like my whole life was a waste. And I was like, what are you doing now? She said, well, I got a pottery studio in my backyard. I'm home every day with my kids, and I'm happy. Awesome. I'm so glad you didn't come work for me.
Yeah.
But that expectation management part of leadership of just making it very crystal clear of, come in here and give me what I want, whether it's 8 o'clock or you show up at 7:50 or you're staying until 6 to get the job done. It's okay, and I don't have to tell you that because you know where it's going to take you, and it's going to get that done.
Love it. That's a wrap.